Now, the scar left on the landscape by the former East German border apparatus becomes especially visible from the air, like here in the hills of the Rhön region. The area now known as the Green Belt begins on the Baltic Sea on the Prival Peninsula and runs a zigzag south through the village of Mödlareuth. That's on the border between Bavaria and Thüringen. Now, the border between the two Germanys was a tightly controlled death strip. The no man's land on the eastern side was up to 5.5 kilometers wide and off limits to all East Germans except border patrol guards. Now, many sections of the old fences and walls separating east from west do still exist. But because the off-limit zone was so extensive, nature was able to thrive here uninhibited. And today a string of nature reserves is home to over 600 endangered plant and animal species. Numerous hiking and bicycle paths also run along the Green Belt, a unique conservation area that was, ironically, born of the Cold War. Well, on her trip, Anne-Katrin also hopes to learn how local residents along the way remember the days of German division, and her starting point on a Baltic Sea beach is a pertinent one.
Anne-Katrin's tour will cover almost 1,400 kilometres, so there's no time to waste as she sets out on her voyage of discovery along the border that once divided Germany. Her mode of transport, which she chose specially, is a very apt one.
Tour with a so-called Schwalbe, in English that is swallow, and that was a very popular scooter in the DDR, and this one was built in 1976, just like me, and whilst I grew up in the western part of Germany, she drove around in the east, and now 20 years after the war came down, we are united again in taking a tour along the former border which once divided Germany.
The most northerly point of the border was on the Prival Peninsula by the Baltic Sea, which happens to feature a beautiful beach. Peter Matera was a West German border guard with responsibility for this section of the border. Today, he takes a leisurely stroll along the beach in what used to be no man's land. Until 1989, he wasn't allowed to set foot here. And an innocent paddle like this would have been impossible, because Peter and Anne-Katrin are standing on opposite sides of the old divide.
So this entire beach was locked off for the sun lovers?
Yes, on the one side there was wide open space, and on the other nudists, who were separated from the border area by a chain and signs warning them not to stray onto East German territory. The funny thing was, they'd hang their towels or even their wet clothes on the chain.
This is how things looked back in the 1960s. West German holidaymakers were left gazing at the other side of the beach. But there wasn't much to see, because the beach in the east was heavily guarded and completely off limits to civilians. The fall of the Berlin Wall prompted Peter Matera to start collecting Cold War paraphernalia. His collection is on show at a police academy near Lübeck. It includes a helicopter in which he flew surveillance missions. Peter Matera is set to retire this year, but he plans to continue working on his collection for some time yet. It's an issue that still occupies him.
I served over 10 years on this border, looking directly across at the East German border guards. I saw exploding mines. The border became part of my daily life.
There are now very few remnants of the border here, so Anne-Katrin decides to head for Zirksdorf, about 20 kilometers west of Prival. It has an airfield, where you can book aerial tours of the old border zone. But this isn't just a joyride. The point is to hopefully make out where the border used to run. 10 years ago, pilot Uwe Zick began running aerial trips twice a week for tourists and other visitors. He grew up in West Germany. Anne-Katrin wants to know if it's still easy to see from the air where the border was.
Probably not if you don't know what to look for. Look down now and you can see that road with a big bend. Look out for the tall trees. That was the border.
Flights like this would have been impossible 20 years ago. During the Cold War, aircraft weren't permitted to fly within 5 kilometers of the border. After a good hour in the air, Anne-Katrin calls the mission off, admitting that these days there's little evidence here that Germany was once divided.
From up above, you can really see well that up here in the north of Germany, everything has grown together, what belongs together. So the good thing is that people like Mr. Zick do have enough memories to tell me about the times when Germany was divided.
This was just the first stage of our intrepid reporter's tour along the former Iron Curtain. Next time, we'll be joining her at Schalsee, a lake 60 kilometres inland from the Baltic coast.